Alright, so you watched a video yesterday just about reviewing multiplication in general, which I know you've done before, that's why I didn't even give you homework on it. But today we're going to kind of move that into multiplying decimals. And so the book kind of separates it into multiplying decimals by whole numbers and then by another decimal. We're not going to go that detailed, we're just going to kind of do all of it in one section. So we're just going to go ahead and start multiplying. The important part, you can multiply these just like you would multiply normal numbers. The only difference is you have to kind of count and pay attention to how many place values to figure out where to put the decimal in the end. So I'm going to go ahead and rewrite this vertically to make it a little easier to multiply. And again, I'm just going to follow the procedures of multiplication. So 1 times 7 gives me 7, and 1 times 2 would give me 2. Remember to put your 0 for a placeholder. 6 times 7 is 42. Carry the 4. 6 times 2 is 12, plus 4 is 16. So when I add this, I'm going to bring it up here so it's easier to see. When I add, I end up with 1647. Now to know, my answer is not 1647. We count decimal places. Since there's one decimal place in the first one and one in the second, I add those to get 2, which means I place it 2 in from the end so that my answer becomes 16.47. And again, this might be something that you've talked about in the past, which is okay, but we're here to review this so that as we move forward and we start to divide decimals and such, that we're going to be covering all of these topics. So let's go ahead and just jump into another example. So this next example, I'm going to multiply 1.25 times 0.75. Now it still happens that both of these, the decimals ended up lining up together, but that isn't something that has to be the case all the time. You don't have to line up decimals like you do when you're adding and subtracting decimals. The important part is just to line up the numbers so that when we multiply, it's easier to multiply that way. So let's go ahead and take a look. We have 5 times 5 is 25. Carry my 2. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 2 is 12. Carry the 1. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 1 is 6. Again, put the 0 as a placeholder. 7 times 5 is 35. Carry the 3. 7 times 2 is 14, plus 3 is 17. Carry the 1. 7 times 1 is 7, plus 1 is 8. And when I add those, I end up with 9375. Now this time, I had 2 decimals, 4 decimals, so that decimal place actually goes in front of that 9, so that my final answer would be 0.9375. And for multiplying decimals, that's all that's to it. So what I'm going to do now, and I'll give this is usually what will happen on these videos, is I'm going to go ahead and give you a couple of examples to do on your own. I'm going to give you a few minutes within the video to start solving them. I'd like you to try them on your own, just as if you were in class. You're going to start solving them on your own paper, and then I'll go ahead and put the answers up there so you can check your work as you're working to figure out if you're on point or not. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. So we'll call them examples 3A and B. So example 3A is going to be 23 times 0.04. And then letter B is 4.2 times 3.9. 4.2 times 3.9. So again, go ahead and take a few minutes, try to figure those out, and then I'll put that work up on the board for you. Alright, so as we go ahead and multiply, we do 4 times 3, which gives us 12, carry the 1, 4 times 2 is 8, plus 1 is 9. Now for this next one, really, I don't have to multiply these by 0. It's going to be kind of pointless to go through and multiply that by 0. All that's really going to do is take into account that we have another decimal place. So no decimal places, 2 decimal places, means that my answer then is 0.92. So moving on to part B, we have 9 times 2 is 18. Carry the 1. 9 times 4 is 36, plus 1 is 37. Put a 0 as a placeholder. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 4 is 12. So when I add, we have a total of 2 decimal places. So I move over 2 decimal places, and I get 16.38 is my final answer for part B. So again, make sure that you have all 4 of those examples. I mean, I know there's only 3 examples, but there's 2 parts to example 3. So make sure you have all 4 of those problems copied down. There's no real notes. There's no definitions or steps or anything to copy down for this particular lesson. We will get to that eventually. But for now, just make sure that you have all 4 of those copied down. Then tomorrow when you come to class, we'll work on some examples of this in class, as well as moving into maybe some problem solving and word problems that you can use with multiplying decimals.